2015, and I'd like to call this special board meeting with the Seminole Public Schools to order, please. Roll call, please.
Kay Levy.
Here.
Jack Cadenhead.
Here.
Amy Cole Glacier. Here. Claudia Willis.
Here.
Nikki Upton.
Here.
And I'd like to kindly ask the audience to remain as quiet as possible, if you don't mind, out of consideration for our guests that are here, and also because the home audience has a hard time hearing if there's too much commenting in the audience. So just wanted to ask that. Item number 3, possible consideration and action regarding the board's superintendent search process.
Great. I think I've introduced myself to each.
Go ahead. No, that's fine. Would you like me to introduce you? This is Miss Stephanie Hyder with OSSBA and Ann Kane, who are our guests. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I brought for you a copy of our proposal. So I wanted to I know that you all have seen this, but I wanted to have a chance to go over this with you face to face and give you all an opportunity to ask any questions as we work through the search process. So we move through this tonight. I think one of the first things that I'd like for you all to know, just in regard to the OSSBA, is that we have just really tried to emphasize in the last few years the importance of district leadership. And that starts with the Board of Education. And we feel very, very strongly that probably the single most important job that a board has is to hire the superintendent. And it's just so critical that not only does that person have the qualifications and characteristics that your school district needs to be able to move your student learning and your district forward, but that they also have the right personality characteristics and communication skills necessary to communicate well with your board, to communicate well with your public, as well as internally within the building as well. So that is something that we just work really hard with boards, is to understand what it is that you're looking for, to really try and understand what is happening in the district, so that we can use our network and our skill set to help you all identify potential candidates that would be suitable to come in and lead the district forward. So one of the things I wanted to really just kind of talk with you about is the proposal itself. And if you notice on the left-hand side of the brochure, you've got some information in the back on due diligence to do background checks on the incoming superintendent, and I'll talk with you about that here towards the end of the process or the program. But on the other side is the proposal itself. So I wanted to be able to talk with you about that. So it's my understanding that you're are looking for someone, that you have an interim in place, and that is effective through June 30th. Is that correct? Okay, so you'd be looking for someone to begin July 1, effectively, of the next year, to be able to move on from there. Okay. One of the things that we do, we like to leave the application period open. There's a couple things that need to happen before we can actually open the application. One of those is our communication director will work with your communication or PR person, and if you don't have one, we can work with someone internally to really help pull together what are the significant talking points, kind of your Chamber of Commerce speech, so to speak, about Seminole Public Schools. And along with that information, your school logo, and just other things that are unique and special to Seminole, we work with that information, and we will develop a web page for Seminole Public School off of the OSSBA website. So that will be where the application is housed, so to speak, but then they can also go and gather a lot of information about Seminole Public Schools. So we'll work really closely with someone in your district to define and really identify what that's going to look like. So that's kind of one aspect of getting ready to open the application. The second aspect of opening the application is really getting a good feel for the qualities and characteristics that you're looking for. This is done, and we like the information from a variety of different sources. First is, of course, we need input from the board members. You all know the school better than the general public. You've been elected by the general public to know the school and know the goings-ons. So that's a conversation that we're going to want to have with you about what that person looks like. But then I think another real valuable source of information is your community. And we have an opportunity, and we'll talk about the details of it a little bit further, that you can have, Ann and I would actually come back, we could set a date, and we could come back and host face-to-face community forums with a variety of different groups within Seminole. So it might look like this. You might have a session where we talk with certified staff, support staff, central office and building administrators. Perhaps you have a fairly strong business leader community group that you could invite in, and then the community and the parents at large. So those are the community forums, and the things that we do during those discussions, and it's very open-ended, is we just speak with them and ask the folks that are invested, the stakeholders that are invested in Seminole Public Schools, what do you see as the strengths? If they were in my position and they are looking to bring someone in here, what would you say that are the strengths and the reason that someone should come and lead Seminole Public Schools going forward? And then we're going to ask them about the challenges. What are the things that you see that are challenging? What are the things that are upcoming immediately? How about in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years? What are the things that you see out there that you really would want someone not only to be aware of, but to have the skill set to be able to handle those things as they come up? So it's an open-ended opportunity to get input from your stakeholders and for them to feel like they are part of setting the criteria and helping identify those characteristics that are going to be really important for the next superintendent. And I think that's a nice way to involve your community, and it's a really nice way to make a connection with that person prior to that person even being here. Once we have those community forums, and like I said, Ann and I are both there, we take copious notes. That information is given back to the board members so that you can be thinking about those things when you are reviewing the applications and then when you're having those face-to-face interviews. That also helps us, again, set that criteria for the kind of person that we're looking at. Another big piece that comes out of that is a lot of times there's common themes that emerge. You know, if you visit with 5 different groups, it's really interesting that most of the time there's going to be 2 or 3 threads that are going to be really common throughout all of that. And that's telling you that that's something that needs to be addressed. And so in addition to that, once we identify what those things are, we can help create interview questions around those or different types of scenarios so that when that person comes in, you can see how would they handle this. If this theme or if this area was something that was very important, obviously, to every single stakeholder group we talked about, that's something that you need to know if this person can address one way or another. So there's a variety of different ways that we use that information. So we have the marketing side that we pull those things together so you have your unique web page. We have a couple of different ways to gather information from you as well as the community. And then the third piece of information gathering we do is an online survey, which the questions are very different than the community forum questions. So even if a person participates in the forum, we're going to encourage them to take the survey as well because it's just different information. And again, that information is given back to the board so that you all can review it and have a clear understanding of where your community is on some of these issues and some of the things you need to keep in mind going forward. Questions about those couple of pieces? No? Okay. Once we are able to open the application period, we like to leave it open about 4 to 6 weeks. Sometimes it can be a little bit longer, but I would not ever go more than about 8 weeks because you're just going to lose the momentum there. What we would want to do is work backwards from your timeline, so that if you're looking at a July 1st hire date, we're already into December, so we would need to look at opening this probably mid-January, which puts us, kind of look at my calendar here. I can give you some general ideas. So if we were able to open mid-January, then that would let us have that open through mid-February to the end of February, I would say, which means that you would be able to have your interviews sometime in March. We have to be sensitive to the spring break issue, which you feasibly then could be ready to hire in April and I think May at the latest. And we would want to accelerate that as fast as we can because, you know, it could feasibly be a domino effect. You know, if you're taking a superintendent from another school, that school they need to be respectful enough of that board for them to have time to find a replacement as well. So the earlier we can get that done, the better it is for everyone around if that person is already employed somewhere else. But I think with the mid-January open date to the end of February, interviews in March, that sets you up in a pretty good place to be where you need to be to make a hire in April and May at the latest. Along with those couple of things. Along with your webpage, we do lots of advertising on your behalf through social media, our website, of course, the Administrators Association website. We will advertise very heavily regionally around the states. And then through the National School Boards Association, we have an affiliation of superintendent searchers. So there's someone like myself and Ann and 35 other school board associations across the nation. So we advertise with them also. So you'll have national exposure, regional exposure, and local exposure through the state as well. We have started a system about 3 years ago that's an online application management system, and it works very, very well. And we have kind of retrained our people. Sometimes that can be kind of challenged, but we've trained our folks so that they can come in. If someone is interested in a position, we've made it easy for them to find us on our website. We'd make it easy for them to apply online. They set up an online account. They will answer really basic, normal application questions. We ask them to include with their application a cover letter, resume, proof of their Oklahoma superintendent certification or evidence that they can easily obtain that, as well as their transcripts showing the coursework that they've taken to meet the criteria to become a superintendent. So those are the things we ask for. If there are additional information that they want to upload to support themselves, they can certainly do that. Or if there are other things that you are interested in seeing that's not on that list, we can ask for that as well. So there's an opportunity for them to do that. The thing that's really great about the system that our board members has found is that each of you will also have access, an online access point. So you'll have your own account that you can access the applications as they're submitted. So when an applicant presses submit, you know, they might be able to work on it for 2 or 3 weeks. I'm going to see that as an administrator. You're not going to see that. But as soon as they press submit, you're going to get an email letting you know that there's a new application in your pool. Then you can't access it through your email, but you can go into your account, access it there, and you can just read all the information that's right there on that person. We will also provide you with a scoring rubric for you to just kind of have a neutral place to start thinking about these applicants, and it's tied very closely to the qualifications and the characteristics that we've identified so that you have a way of saying, you know, these are the things that we wanted to know if this person can do. Is there evidence through this application that they've met that requirement, and then you can score them on that. That's strictly your option. You can score them and rank them however you like to do that, but we provide that for you if that's something that would be helpful to you. So we have a lot of activity at the beginning trying to get the application open, and then we have kind of a quiet period of 4 to 6 to 8 weeks while it is open. I ask that you review the applications as they come in so that it's fresh on your mind and then you're not slammed with them at the last minute. Once that application period closes, then we come back, have an executive session, and we discuss the applicant pool. And we just review those are in there and be thinking about who it is that you would like to invite to interview. Another service that's part of this service is that we establish all the communication with the applicant. So at that point in time, once you have made a selection of, say, 4 to 6 people that you want to interview, then we notify the people that you will not be interviewing, thanking them for their interest, but that they have not been, that they will not be invited. And then we also communicate with the people that are coming in and help get all those interviews set up for you. So we do that through the first round as well as through the second round of interviews. Most times you can finish and make a decision after 2 rounds of interviews, but that's not a hard and fast rule. That's completely up to your decision. So if you want to go into 3 rounds or another round, that's certainly what you can do. We do not filter applications, so every single application that is submitted you have access to, and you are reading, reviewing, and scoring. That is not our job as a school board association, is to narrow that field for you. That's your job. And so I think it's important. You'll read some applications and you're going to be just going, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person thought they could apply. That's part of it. You need to understand who's in your pool, what their skill set is, and then you need to make that decision that that's not going to be a good fit. That's not our job. That's going to be your job. So we just basically really feel like our service to districts allows you to focus on setting the criteria, reviewing the applications, and making the hire. I mean, those are the 3 big things for you all to be worried about. We take care of the management issues, the recruiting issues, the advertising issues, the marketing issues, and the coordination of those things on the back end. So we try and take the management piece out and just allow you all to focus on the important thing of setting the criteria and then selecting the candidates that you want to interview. Questions about that? That's kind of a lot of information about the meat of the process.
Your community forums have a price per day. Is it typically, how many days does it take you? Oh, do it all in one?
Yeah. We can do 5 forums in a day, and they take about 45 minutes to an hour to be able to facilitate that. Usually about 45 minutes to be able to get that done. So we come and so it's $500 for the day plus our travel expenses. So we just would come that morning. Again, just work with whomever on your staff as well as the contact person on the board to just get the group set, get the location set, the venue set, and get all of that done. Then we show up, facilitate those meetings. Most of the time, the board members aren't there. I mean, particularly for the employee and the staff sessions. If you want to be there for the community sessions, that would be fine. You need to make a decision on if all of you, want to be there, then you're going to have a meeting, or if just a couple of you want to be there, then you won't need to worry about scheduling a meeting for that.
Is it better if we don't attend? I mean, possibly, like maybe people feel freer to, so I'm thinking.
Yeah, most of the time. Most of the time.
Okay.
So, other questions about that?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Other questions?
Do you advise that? You do advise the community input?
I think it's really critical.
I do too.
Really do.
Okay.
I mean, when you have had, you all have had some difficult times. I mean, let's just say what it is. You've had some difficult times in the last 12 to 18 months. And it's very, very important that around this process, you find a way to become a united team and settle on the commonalities of the things that you agree with, which should be the best thing that are going to be for the Seminole Public School students. And I think one of the ways that you can do that is hear from your community members on what it is that they want and take action on that through the things that we include on the application, as well as crafting interview questions that are really going to get to the heart of the matter of the things that your community members have said are important.
I agree.
Very much so, yeah.
Other questions? The, just kind of the last piece, and I'm not going to read it to you, but I want you to read it on your own. On the left side of the packet, I talked to you a little bit about the background inquiry. We have included in the $6,000 base is a very, very standard background inquiry. I mean, it's just, it's just kind of like bare bones information that you're going to receive on that person. A more in-depth due diligence report can be provided through the group I left you information on. It's called Baker Eubanks. And all of the things that they cover in there in regard to is their certificate valid? Did they graduate from an accredited university? The university still has their accreditation. They're still in good standing. There's social media review, news media review, felony, Department of Transportation. I mean, it's just very, very thorough, and it's very, very deep. And a lot of our school districts are going to that much of a deeper due diligence report than just something just to kind of meet the bare requirements of of what is in place, just simply for just protection for the district, and that you all have done everything you can to know that this person is whom they're representing themselves to be. So that's not a decision that you need to make tonight, but the information is there for you to read and study. And when it comes down to it, normally you're going to want to do this between your first and your second round of interviews when you're down to probably 2 to 3 people because it's expensive. So, and again, that's an additional cost on top of this, so that's just something that you all will have to weigh as a board if you want to make that investment at that time, but it can be done, you can make that decision at a later time.
That's good. So you can tack services on as needed.
Right.
Then.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. One of the other, you kind of look and see, I've been talking off the cuff, I'm not following my notes. Page 9, you look at kind of some of the other additional services that we have. We've talked about, printed applicant materials. We've had boards that have said, we still want the paper, and so, you print a binder, but it's like this. You all can print them yourselves if you want, but if you want us to do it, there's an additional charge for that. The community forums we've talked about. Number 3 is the interview concierge service. And again, some districts really want OSSBA to be there and help navigate that process. We're not normally in the room for the interviews, but we help coordinate that process of getting the people in the door, getting them out the door, making sure they're not stepping on each other's toes and bumping into each other. Just some general types of things like that. There will be things that as we get closer to that point that we will talk about interview protocol and process so that you all will feel as comfortable as you can to handle that yourself. But again, if you want us there to help facilitate that, we can. Number 5 talks about the background review report. So, and it's a little bit confusing, so I want you to star this for me kind of as we go so that I can look. Most schools, if you look at the Standards Plus package, okay, star that, and then the very bottom, the media review package, that includes the social and the news. So that would be, those are pretty standard options. They give you a lot of different choices that you can choose from. But the Standard Plus and the media review, that's going to give you the most information. Those 2 things there. We can help with contract review and negotiations if that's something that you're interested in. And then the final item is marketing package. Again, if you don't have someone that you feel like has the time to be able to pull these things together to do the marketing within your community and start putting out some press releases and things of that nature, then our communications department can help you with that as well. And we have those things listed there that would be included in that if you're interested in that as well. Questions?
You've answered most of mine, so. Nikki, did you have some
So
more?
you said that your candidate review was very basic, but then you have a standard plus and a standard. Is your candidate review is the standard package? Is that what you meant, or?
No, that's still part of the Baker Eubanks. Hang on.
Oh, so item 5, these quotes are from Baker Eubanks?
Yes,
Okay, okay.
yes, as additional expenses. Good check there. Okay, page 5, this will explain it a little bit better. At the top of page 5, the standard background check,
Okay,
and then see where it says included. So
Right.
those items, the national criminal record, the fugitive, the social security, the previous address, and the national sex offender, that's what's included in your 6,000.
okay.
Okay? And below that, where it talks about the comprehensive due diligence, all right, so that's the standard, all of those things, and then the standard plus adds the federal criminal and the credit report. So it's two different things. You know, so you've got 660 versus 825 to add those other two things. And then the media review, you've got social media, news media, or both of them.
And these are typically done before we do a second interview or before we make a hire?
I would recommend that you do it before you do your second interview. If you go from your first interview to your second interview and you can get it down to 2 to 3,
Right.
that's when I would do that. And I like to, actually, when I do this, I like to be able to have we need about 14 days between the first and the second round of interviews so that we can get this back. Because you wouldn't want to go into the situation of making an offer and then waiting 14 days to do a background check and then finding something that was unfavorable. That's just not really, that's not good business for you all to do that. So I think it's in your best interest to have as much information as you can going into that second interview so that you feel confident after that time, if you're ready to make an offer, that you have the information that you need.
So I'm sorry, can we back up to number 2?
Sure.
So it says community forums in here, but so what would we need to provide for you for community? A locale, a place, and you'll do that in the evening times probably?
That we like the community meeting definitely the evening, like a 5:30 or 6. But
Okay.
usually we can do the school personnel during the day.
Right, sure.
Right, so we would want to do probably certified staff as soon as we could get everybody out of their buildings, safely to some place. Administrative staff and central office, they usually have more flexibility than your central office, central certified staff because they're out in the classroom, so we can, do those after lunch or, before lunch or sometime. The same thing with support staff. Usually they have a little bit more flexibility than your certified staff. So during the day, we should be able to get your certified staff, your administrators, your support staff finished. Right after school, get your certified staff. And then the final one would be your community and your parents.
And so for this timeline, this needs to happen in January probably. Right after the first of the year, something pretty quickly. Any particular day is better than any other?
No, it really just depends on your school calendar. You're not going to want to do it on a Tuesday night home basketball game, or you're going to want to be sensitive, and that's going to get tough, just because of everybody's schedules, and so you just have to kind of be thinking about, you're not going to get everybody, but where's your opportunity to get as much as you can. Another thing that's really nice, in fact, this is happening with us tomorrow. Where we're traveling to is we're doing a second day of community forums in Bartlesville. Tomorrow is where we're doing that. And they have a built-in business meeting that happens every month. And it just happened that they were able to coordinate that so that we are the program. And so that's an option for you all as well. If you have a chamber, a Lions, or a Rotary, and if they have a regular breakfast, or if they have a regular lunch, or something of that nature, and if the timing is right and you can get us on the agenda, that's a really good way to
They have
get
a
in front of
monthly
people.
forum where they all.
So that's always an option as well. Now, one of the things that, and I know it's the next item on the agenda, which is number 4, which is talking about the characteristics and criteria. We can really kind of approach this a couple of different ways. I prefer to have the discussion with you as board members during the day that we have the community forums. So if we have 5 community forums scheduled that day, Jack, maybe we meet you earlier in the morning before we start any, and then maybe we get the 2 of you at lunch, and then maybe we get the 2 of you a little bit later, so that we can meet with you individually in a small group setting, so that we can really have a rich conversation about your experiences in Seminole. So that's the preferable way for us to gather that information from you as board members. Timing-wise, if there's a built-in time that we could get on an agenda and it's not till the first part of February, then we should have either phone conversations or schedule another time perhaps for us to have those conversations with you, because I don't know that we want to wait that long to open the application. If we can have the characteristics and criteria conversation with the board, we can go ahead and open the application knowing that you're representing the community's feelings, and then when we have those community forums, that information we'll use to craft what the interviews are going to look like. So we'll still be able to utilize that information, but it would not be at the front end of setting what that criteria is. So again, that's your decision, but I see that as being the 2 options that we have for being able to get it open and still be able to get as much information from everybody as we need.
I like that.
I think that's good.
I think it's a good idea. And we could even come to you. I mean, I don't mind driving to Oklahoma City or,
Yeah,
Right.
I don't mind either.
Yeah.
And there may be some other natural times that you're kind of there. So as long as we can have, we can divide and conquer as we need to. But we can make that happen. And that I think if we approach it that way, that takes a little bit of the pressure of how quickly we have the community forums. We just need to make sure that we have those and get that input well in advance of facilitating the interviews, and especially before you really start looking at the applications, because it's just going to be very important for you to keep those community wishes and their desires in the front of your mind when you're reviewing the applications.
Does it help for us, I'm sorry, I've got a question. Does it help for us to take a look at postings from other districts in the past at trying to identify criteria, or would you prefer that we really just come up with criteria off the top of our head instead of just looking and picking and choosing language that we like?
It really, it's a conversation.
Right.
It really is, we're professionals at doing this and have facilitated these types of things so many times that, we can have a 30-minute conversation with each of you, and we'll be able to pull out the key things, because the important thing for us is going to be to find your commonalities.
Okay.
What is the thing that all of you are looking for? And we need to be able to agree on that. And then we need to be able to understand the other things, but know that those are those other pieces, but these are the things that each of you agree on. And going forward, this is what each of you are going to be focused on, and these are the eyes you're going to be looking through as you find that person.
Great.
So no, I don't think so, because we can craft it in such a way. And so when I talk about that criteria, it's so for an example would be in the application itself, we'll create like qualification and characteristic statements. And so we'll ask each applicant to respond to 2 to 3 statements. And one of them might be provide evidence of your skill in managing new construction. If that is something that as a team that you all feel like is going to be really important for this person going forward. Or what experience have you had with XYZ? So it's going to be very, very specific to Seminole needs.
All right.
And we're going to ask them to to demonstrate in a written form that they can address that concern. So that when you're looking through those applications, it's not just what they put on their resume to make them, because anyone can put anything they want on a resume, but it's just really trying to get to the heart of the matter of, can they deal with the specific thing that we really need them to?
Okay, great. Thank you.
That makes sense.
So what you need from us, since we have voted to use the OSSBA services, but we've not actually approved the contract, so you would be needing us to approve the proposal. Now, as far as the additional services go, we can always add more of those later, is that correct? But you'd probably need to know right now how we feel about community forums, since we're talking about scheduling those.
We actually do, just because of time, just because of the timeline.
Sure.
If we're looking at doing that, we need to get that on the books.
Do you also want us to kind of talk about the tentative timeline and kind of fill that in tonight? I mean,
I'll do that I think once we get that set. If we can get the community forum early enough in January, then that'll kind of be our starting point. But if it looks like it's going to be February, February, mid-February before we can get that done, I still think we're going to be good for an April-May hire date. It's just a matter of how quickly we actually open it up to start receiving applications.
Then I would make a motion that under item 3 that we approve the executive search proposal with OSSBA, and for now add the additional services of community forums, item 2, at $500 per day plus travel expenses.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Mickey Upton,
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Clasher.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Kay League.
Yes. Okay, item number 4. Possible discussion and action with regard to the characteristics and criteria to be utilized in the search for a superintendent.
Okay. So again, we can have this discussion, the whole group, and we can go through some of these things now, or we can work to schedule a community forum and have those that day. And if it doesn't work for us to have that discussion during the community forum day, if that's going to be too late, we can just do some individual consultations with you prior to that community forum. That's your decision on how you want to proceed with that.
I'll probably just have an individual consultation with you. I'll just call you or something, but we can set up a timeout, 30 minutes, I think. Is that what you said?
Oh, plenty. That's plenty of time, especially for individual conversations.
That's fine with me, too.
That's fine. I don't mind
How do
having
you
one
feel?
with another member or by myself or whatever works out.
Jack, does that work for you?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure I'll be around when y'all come and
Okay.
And this way we can
Make
check
some
your
time that-
schedule, and,
Yes.
because I'm sure you're booking up, and then we can
Yes.
look at our calendar and see about a community.
And
Those
that
going
also,
too.
it also helps to know we're not supposed to be coming up with a laundry list of everything we think the
No.
perfect superintendent would have, but as qualities or characteristics, but instead a few of those that we think the prospective superintendent for Seminole would particularly need to
Yeah,
have.
that was
Just
helpful.
a few of those. That was really helpful.
What you
not
said,
kind
yeah.
of trying to put together our own
Right.
job
It is.
description.
Well, I think the thing that you can really get a trap in, and it's hard to think about this because you're entering into this new relationship. What you hope is a very, very long-term relationship. Research says that doesn't necessarily always happen. I mean, the longevity of a superintendent is 3.6
6 years.
years.
Really?
In a district. So
Wow.
so
In
the attrition
Oklahoma.
in Oklahoma. So the attrition rate, it's high, it's just kind of high turnover for just a variety of different reasons. I mean, you hope for longer, but you need to be able to plan for that. So I think when you really think about this, you think about, I mean, you certainly want this person to be the dream superintendent. You absolutely do. But the other thing you really need to think about is narrow that focus to what is going to benefit us the most for the next 3 years. I mean, what does Seminole really, really need?
If we
to
were just
happen?
programming this person with these characteristics.
At this point in time, what is the skill set you need to be able to move you from here to here? And those are the things that you really, really need to hone in on.
That's good to know, instead of just the big, broad, general ones, but the specifics.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's so helpful to know in preparing for when we do visit with you about that, rather than delving into it right now. It's item 4.
Well, it's just you can't, you know, you have immediate things that you need to do to get yourself back on track. You just do. And so you just need to make sure that you have the person in place that can help you take those steps that will be able to make that happen.
That
So
sounds great.
you said you'll make the online Survey Monkey or something like that, right, as well? So I mean, if people can't make it to this whatever, they still have an opportunity to submit something.
Absolutely. And we'll release the online survey the day after the community forums.
Okay.
And they can do both.
Or,
Absolutely.
yeah, all the above.
Wonderful.
That's fine.
And it's a different set of questions, so it serves a different purpose. Great.
Right. Yeah, it is.
Wonderful.
Well, I think that sounds great.
3.6 years.
I know. It's
Last year, there
depressing.
were 150 superintendent changes.
Wow.
In Oklahoma.
Do they move from from district to district, or do they move out of state, or is there a,
Well, we don't have numbers
Common,
on
yeah,
this, but
okay.
yes,
Just a
all of
combination.
that.
yeah, all of the above?
We don't have tracking devices.
Yeah, that's true,
and
that's
exit
true.
interviews.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
No,
wow.
it's just tough. But, I mean, my dad was a superintendent, and I think, 17 years, and you just don't see that.
Yeah.
You just don't see that much.
Well, we've had long-term superintendents here, so,
It's
well,
tough to find them
that's
going
awesome.
forward.
Wow.
Well, I,
Other questions for me about the process, or?
I might have a question. How important is it for you to have a point of contact on the board? Do you need a board member that
I
you?
do.
Okay.
I need a board point of contact, and then I also need whomever, probably Ann as the minutes clerk, is
Yeah.
that correct?
that's how, yeah.
Um,
And that's a different, two different people, so,
Right,
right.
right.
That would be the marketing job.
So
Correct.
do you all have a PR communications marketing person on staff?
We don't.
Who takes care of sending out media? I mean,
The
sending,
superintendent.
okay. So, so that's doable, I mean, that's doable as well. I mean, we can help as much as we can. It won't be as in-depth as if we were helping you do that, but we can help some. But, I mean, one of the main things that we need from, that we would need from you, Ann, would just be, there'll be times that I'll need your help coordinating with the board to find interview dates, I'm going to need everybody's cell phone and email, and, those types of things. It's really helpful.
So you're really going to be, I mean, we all have access to communicate with you, but your
Yes.
point of contact is the person that just schedules, that we coordinate, dates and times and that sort of thing like we have done. Okay.
And when, once I have everyone's email information, and I can get the job posting, kind of like, I can put you into the system, but not open the job,
Right.
then it's real easy for me to email each of you, blind copy you.
Good.
In fact, I've been called the email lady. Ah, you're the email
That's
lady.
good, though.
Yeah, just because I'll keep you all of you apprised of where we are within the process and what needs to happen next, where I may be working more specifically with you to get something. All of you will know what it is that I'm asking for.
That's
I'm
good.
going to explain how you do emails so it doesn't violate the
It is. So it's through the AppleTrack system, which is our application system, and everything's blind copy. So it would say, most of the time it'll say your full name, but just know that it's a blind copy to you, so that you're able to respond and not be in violation. what do you call that? The walking.
Oh, the walking quorum.
Walking.
Walking quorum.
Walking quorum. Yes.
So it would only respond to you, and it wouldn't be responding to anybody else, so
Correct.
that wouldn't be a group action?
Correct.
Okay, good. Well, that sounds good. That was very informative.
We have an election coming up. And so this body could change. I'm sure this has happened before. It's had to have. Is it, I mean, do you take the person maybe that's new and you kind of help them along, or what, I mean, do we, because we're going to be right in the process of interviews.
Is that February?
Yeah.
February and March, yeah.
February, March.
March would be the transition.
We just would need to work with them the best that we can, because we certainly don't want, this is another thing that we just feel really, really strongly about, and there's not any, there's not any hard and fast rule, but it's kind of a general rule of thumb that superintendents are much more inclined to accept an offer from the district with a 5-0 vote, rather than coming into it with any dissension at all.
That would make sense.
And you can understand that.
Of
Put
course.
yourself in that person's place.
Definitely.
And so it's going to be really important, if there is a new board member, that that person feel like they're as involved as they can be, being in as late as they can, and that they feel like they have as much information as they can, so that they can be united with you in making that decision going forward, so that superintendent knows that he or she has the support of all 5 of you going forward to start with. I don't know if that got to you. I don't know. I kind of went along around that, but
I don't think that's going to be a
we
problem.
just need to be aware of it.
However it works out.
Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
need to be,
Yeah, we just need to be very, very
Communicate well.
cognizant of that, and be aware to get that person brought on board. And that's another thing that we can do too. With the data, by then we'll have the data from the Q&Cs from you, we'll have the information from the community forums, we'll have the information from the online survey, and then the person needs to study it. And they need to understand that this is what the community is saying, and that this is the lens that we're looking through when we are looking at applications and going through the interview process.
That makes sense.
That probably happens a lot, though, the board
Yeah.
elections and when you're working through this process. Because that's every year.
It's every year.
Board
Yeah.
election.
Right. So it does. So we'll just get ourselves worked through it. That's what we do.
you said we needed to give you a board point of contact or not, or you could work through our existing superintendent? Was that what that, or we need to give you a point of contact?
It really is preferable to have.
It's better, okay.
Well, just because
Our,
you're the board.
Our
You're
interim
the-
superintendent may
you're the
apply.
folks- You're the folks doing,
So-
right. And so
Probably.
that definitely makes a conflict of interest. So you need, someone from the boards needs to be the person that can facilitate that.
Okay.
Are we ready to go into item 5?
Well, so I have 3 takeaways. I don't know if you guys caught it, but we need to give her a date of our forum,
Yes?
David?
and then we need to have some type of blurb or notification about Seminole and who we are and what we do and where we're from, right? And then we need a board POC. Did I miss anything?
Nope.
Good job, Nikki.
Take
In
notes.
fact, really, on the date, when I've been here, in the past, Stephanie has just worked with the board clerk or the board contact to say, here are the dates that were available, which one works to do one in your community.
Great.
So you have less back and forth trading calendar dates.
Sure.
That gets crazy.
And we check your dates first. That's how we did it before, so. Is there any other requirements for the point of contact other than that, than just coordinating the meetings?
It's just, it's really accurate, timely responses and information. That's the key thing, because it's, even if I just end up talking with whomever that point of contact is, I've got to know and trust that that person is representing the will of the board, and that a message that I would give that person would get back in the spirit with which I gave that message to the board members as well. So I think that's the part of what's very, very important with that.
Sounds good. Date of forum, point of contact, and our criteria.
Do you need
We
any
will have-
action on item number 4 tonight?
Oh. Regard to character. Oh, did we want to table that till, how did you want to handle that? Possible discussion and action?
I'm asking
No,
y'all.
I think
Yeah,
with it-
we don't need to
with
take-
it being worded as possible
Right.
discussion, I mean, we've had that discussion, but there's no action
Okay.
needed.
Sounds good. Okay.
Well, you all are welcome to remain for item 5, and hopefully that won't take very long, but I also know that you all are heading out to a meeting elsewhere, so whatever your pleasure is, if you want to stay, you're welcome to, and hopefully we'll wrap up very quickly. But in the event that we don't, please feel free to go ahead and head on your way. We've appreciated you being here this evening. You've answered
Very much
so
so.
many
Thank you.
Very nice.
That's just up to you. I mean, I've heard you choose.
They're headed to Bartlesville.
Is that
We
tonight?
have another meeting tonight.
That's what you're saying. Oh,
so-
my
Yeah, we
goodness.
start our forums at 7 in the morning. Don't get any ideas.
Oh, my gosh.
Don't get any ideas that that's a good time
Really,
to start.
we won't do that to you. Well, be safe. Thank you for all your information.
Thank you, we appreciate
Talk to you
it.
soon.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
travel safely.
Okay, item number 5, consider and take necessary action to select a replacement for Kay Levy as the point of contact with OSSBA for superintendent search consultation services.
Yes, and that is my item. I've had no problem whatsoever with the manner in which you've served as our point of contact, and I've appreciated your service. I've appreciated your service on the school board and in your capacity as president the 2 times that you've served. My only concern on this matter was that I felt that the point of contact needed to be someone who was supportive of the effort of having the OSSBA come in and assist in the superintendent selection process. And I felt as though on November 16th, when you did vote as part of the 3-to-1 to postpone or table consideration of the contract until this evening, I felt as though you received a lot of pressure after that vote, and received a lot of pressure, in fact, even from the public during that meeting, and led to the filing by you of the agenda item suggesting that we revoke the earlier action with regard to the OSSBA. And it caused me to question whether you felt like moving forward with the OSSBA services was something that made sense. And so I believe, and given your reasons, and you had excellent reasons, you felt like you were going to be we were all going to be very busy as board members dealing with issues related to the bond issue as well. Busy as a board, busy as individual board members as well, and I understand that. I think our point of contact needs to be someone who is not as concerned about being so busy with that sort of thing, and someone who can get that message out and to the point of, quoting, and we're not having to be concerned hearing that Stephanie Hyder said we had plenty of time to find out that maybe other messages we're getting are indicating that she believes we need to move faster on this. I just truly believe that it puts you in a tough and untenable position, and you're going to continue to get nothing but additional pressure being the point of contact person for OSSBA in this process. Along with that, we don't know. I find it highly unlikely that you're going to be filing to keep your seat next week with Marcy having announced. And given that, you won't be here to see the process through to the very end. And I think we need to have someone who will be seeing the process through to the very end as the point of contact. And not me. I like to travel. I like to do other things. I wouldn't get that email out on the very same day. I don't want to be that point of contact. But I do think there's someone who could serve in that capacity and who does believe that this needs to move forward very quickly and would do a fine job of that.
Well, first of all, whether I was chosen as point of contact as president of the board, and every year our president position turns over, and we knew that a few weeks ago when I was made point of contact anyway. Regardless of whether I was to run again, Jack would be the next board president if we, rotate as usual. I assumed he would be taking that over in March anyway. But, and I didn't misrepresent anything Stephanie Hyder told me. I told you all exactly what she said. And I forwarded you emails that she gave me, and the only delay was after we voted to go ahead and get started with them. I went out of town, and I came back, and as soon as I did, I contacted her, and we got it all set up and put on the agenda, and that was a delay. That was the only delay I've had so far. So, and I have communicated with Stephanie and explained to her that why I suggested that our board consider again one more time, just to make sure that our timing on the superintendent search process was a good idea. I was never opposed to a superintendent search process. I brought it to you all to begin with, if you would recall, back in July or June, right when Jeff was leaving, Mr. Pritchard. So I've had no problem with OSSBA whatsoever at all. I'm very supportive of their programs. So, and I voted tonight to approve the proposal. And there wasn't a single delay. If you look at the timing on the day that she sent us that information, I got it to you all immediately. So personally, I'm not, when I suggested that we would be busy, I didn't mean I was too busy for any work that I would, any of my time for the board. It was merely, let's focus all our time and attention on the high school. And I made that very clear. I thought I did. So it didn't have anything to do with my not doing diligence as my position on the board. So personally, I would still be happy to be your point of contact.
Well, Ms. Levy's been our point of contact since we found ourselves without a superintendent last June. And my understanding, you contacted us immediately and told us the process. Talked to us about board development. I think that was a concern that we hadn't done much of that. I think every year in March we do a reorganization of the board. I think Ms. Levy is fine as our point of contact. We decided that back, in October, November, as to leave her as she's president of the board.
I did, when they were giving us timelines and then y'all just brought it up, I didn't even think about, unless y'all vote to deviate from the protocol, I didn't even think about the fact that I would succeed you as board president because I'm vice president, and that would happen, I guess, February, March. And that would kind of be in the middle of the process. I mean, if you remain as the point of contact, I mean, how do you want,
I would just, I'm going to be giving you all every bit of information she gives me. I'd forward it. Plus, she said she's going to be emailing all of us individually.
Yeah, she talked like we'd all get the same information.
The point of contact was scheduling, basically. I haven't kept anything from any information she's given me from the board at all. And so, I've checked in with her and I didn't ask her permission before I put that on the agenda last week. That was a personal decision that I made, and we have a policy on our board where any of us can put anything on the board that we feel is important, and it wasn't to undermine their program at all. It was merely asking if the timing was right, and I felt it was worthy of that to listen to our community members. So, but I would never ever do anything but honor my role as the board president and the board and just a board member in general. So I've never thought anyone thought I wasn't trustworthy. So Anyway.
I've not suggested you're not trustworthy. I'm suggesting it may be time that we have someone else as the point of contact with OSSBA. And to suggest it's your role as president of the board, there are 3 things in policy that the president of the board does. And in addition to those 3 things, the president of the board is just like any other board member, period. And if you look at policy, it says the president of the board signs warrants, the president makes appointments to committees, and the president presides over the meetings. And with respect to anything else, the president of the board is just like any other board member.
Right, but we voted, isn't it in the minutes, that as board president, I was point of contact?
Yes, we did vote.
That's how it was worded, I believe, unless I'm mistaken.
We voted.
So that's why I assumed it would go to Jack next, as board president. That's all I was saying. But, it's up to you all. I'm just one
answer
vote,
me
so.
this, how important is it to you to continue as the OSSBA contact and to be responsible for the scheduling of these things?
It was not difficult to schedule with her. The minute she contacted me, I sent out and shot out an email, and I got confirmation. You all responded immediately.
Are you
and we
going to
set
be
it out.
traveling out of town?
Nope.
Between now and the end of January? I'm not going to be.
I have
that
a
know
cell
of.
phone and I'm no more out of the country trips for
Okay.
a while.
Okay.
I'd like to, but no. But no, I don't have I don't have any problem with that. And if there's anything in particular, if you all have any special requests for communication, and updates or every time I visit with her, I'll be happy to pass that on. I mean, sometimes it was, did you get my email, because she doesn't, I didn't always hear back from her either, sometimes, and
Sure.
she's busy. And so a lag time in there was due to several things. So, but, it was no problem scheduling with her. And in fact, it worked pretty smoothly. She gave me the dates that worked for her. I forwarded them on to you. You guys said yes or no, and then we set it. Because it's got to be done quickly, because she is booking it.
Is it, and I am kind of, since there will be kind of a transfer, I mean, and I didn't process everything that was said earlier, but I'm wondering if there's any information that's going to just be given to you. I mean,
I won't keep anything. from
no,
you.
I know that. I'm thinking now about February, March.
When it comes time,
Yeah.
I would assume at that point, it would be a transition to you, and you would just continue any scheduling with her. I plan on sharing whatever information I have so far with the next, person, and I haven't announced it formally, but no, I'm not going to run for the board seat, but I will share whatever I have with them to make the transition as smooth as possible. And so I just don't see that there's any problem.
I would think by March, we would have our timelines and dates pretty much established.
And as of March is the meeting, unless there's a runoff.
Well, we'll
March
have to be scheduling meetings for executive session, for interview and whatnot. And
Right.
that'll be kind of at the height of it.
Right, and that's not a problem. It's just a matter of staying on top of it and keeping in. That's why, our schedule, we may be doing a lot of scheduling, with all sorts of things. So we can work this in too. It's just going to be a matter, I'll just need to have good contact numbers for everybody. And, I figured that out with Mickey, if it's okay to call you at work sometimes.
I got your message.
Yeah, I have no problem. I can always get a hold of Amy, and I can always get a hold of you. So, and Claudia. So,
And you want to do this for the time you have remaining?
Sure. I've communicated with her since June. Before Mr. Pritchard left, I was already calling OSSBA, and I had already talked to, they immediately put me in contact. Sean Heim, I talked to him, he put me in contact with Stephanie. I knew that this was the sequence of events, and I was keeping her apprised of what we were going through and kind of our timeline. And I asked her, at the time, is it imperative? Originally, we were going to try to schedule us for a presentation in September or October. And then I think that's when, maybe, I don't know if you contacted her or somebody did, and I had talked to her sometime in between there, and just said, well, what is the actual time frame we need to take care of this in order to get someone in place by July 1 of next year? And she said, really, it's about a 4-month process. And that's why I said, so even if it isn't till January, and she said, you can do it in the second semester. We have people that do that. A lot of people like to start earlier, and I think they like to start earlier, but but it was a 4-month process. She said it's doable, so we're kind of roughly in between those two times. Well,
and I think with the contract approved, we've kind of put that to rest. So
oh yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
That's taken care of.
Now, unless she has requested, I even asked her in an email, and she didn't respond to it, if she felt like a point of contract needed to be changed. If that was important to her, please let me know.
No, she didn't say. I've not inquired that of her, and she
Okay.
has not indicated that to me.
She didn't
in all
respond, and I didn't
So,
want.
And I
Okay.
did not discuss that with her.
Okay.
Which is why
I mean,
I was
which is probably-
offering them a chance to get on the road.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Before we discussed our business.
So I don't
But,
have a problem continuing, and I would pass it all on to Jack. I mean, you guys are going to know everything I know, so.
Well, and
in a
we're not
timely
limited.
fashion.
The point of contact exists for the convenience of the OSSBA to not have to pick up the telephone and call each one of us.
Right, right. And I don't work, outside of the office. I mean, I'm pretty free most of the time. So is that what you were saying? I'm not.
No. I was saying it's for the
Yeah, I do like
OSSBA's convenience,
Yeah.
but if we have questions, if Claudia were to wake up and have a burning question about the process,
Oh, yeah, you can-
she could contact the OSSBA. That wouldn't be circumventing
No,
you as
I
the point of
remember I
contact.
gave you her cell phone, yeah.
Right,
That's what I would do.
right,
Right.
and, right.
That's why I think
rather
the-
than,
Point of contact is really scheduling, I believe. It's kind of the gist of what I got, and passing on any information that she gives us that the board needs to know, and passing it on in the context of what she says. I mean, I thought that's what I had done, so I'm not quite, we had some confusion. I think we had one little rub in there that we didn't understand why we were supposed to sign a contract. I say we. I didn't understand why I'd be expected to approve a contract before the board could see it, and that was concerning. And I had spoken to you about that. I thought, that's not how we do this. And that isn't how her proposal, was set up, It said there's a
I
certain
had no
sequence.
problem with tabling it until
So,
tonight,
and I didn't
don't
either.
think they did either.
No, and I voted to table it. So, I mean, I didn't have a problem with that. So,
Well, I'm not offering a motion on item 5. Is anyone else offering a motion on item 5?
I have a motion that we select Kay Levy as our point of contact
again.
with the OSSBA
We've already
social
used
service until
not
change.
is, we've already done that.
Until
Did you-
change.
Yeah.
Until it changes, well, we'll have to change. Oh, well,
I'll
thank you,
second that,
Nikki.
But I think we voted on that.
Yeah.
That's already,
That's an honorary motion. How's that? Okay, thank you.
Do we really have to have a roll call?
No.
Okay.
I'm teasing. Scratch
I'll move
that,
to adjourn.
everybody out there.
So
I'll move
now
to
item
adjourn.
number 5.
Okay,
Okay.
we've got a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
Roll call, please.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Claudia Miller.
Yes. How was your Thanksgiving?
Now we can get down to business.
It was all right.
And I don't think it's going to be hard for them to
Yes.
We go to college.